Good morning, FlowChat Connector. What's happening? Hope you're doing well today. In this video, we're going to talk about 4 different types of sales questions that you can use today in your next sales conversation. This one's going to be a stunner. What's happening, FlowChat Connector? Kapow! Another one coming back at you here today for some high-ticket tune-up game plan to crush your next sales deal. I hope you're ready. Definitely drop a comment, say hello, and don't forget to smash that like button. Share this out to other people that need it, that could use it. Anybody that you care about that happens to be an agency owner or service provider could definitely benefit from the information I'm about to share with you today. So let's talk. We got a question that came in directly from Andre. He said this: Sean, I heard there's different types of questions you can ask during sales calls. Is this true? The answer is absolutely yes, it is, right? Depending on the context, depending on the stage of the sales call, depending on the awareness level of your prospect, depending on all these different factors, there's a lot of different types of questions that we can ask. But there's a couple of people in the industry that have broken it down. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to dive into a book that's been, it was a resource that I read, I don't even know how many years ago. It was a great one for me for foundations for actually getting into the game of sales. And so what I want to do is dive into a little bit of theory with you guys here, and of course answer any questions. So if you have them, please drop them in the comments. But here we go. So if you've ever heard of the book Spin Selling, it was written by Neil Rackham quite some time ago. It was actually designed and developed for bigger business to business and business to government style sales. But what they did is they used this acronym SPIN for situation, problem, implication, and need payoff, based on the types of questions that you should be asking. And so what I wanted to do is just break down, because I think these are pretty good buckets, maybe not the best acronym for this, but like the way that it works. But I like what they've done and what they put together. So these are the 4 different types of questions in general that you can use in pretty much any sales conversation. And so I just want to walk through each one of these. So first is situation questions. Like, where do these get asked? Typically in the beginning of the sales conversation, when you first meet, one of the first things that we always do, obviously we got to create a little bit of rapport, a lot of different ways to do that. I'm not going to go into that now, but one of the other things is then we say, hey, listen, like, let's set the agenda of the sales call, and then you dive into some of these questioning strategies. So situation questions would come basically after the intro, the rapport building, and the conversation, right after you've set the agenda for the sales call. Now remember what an agenda needs to cover. If you remember the analogy game, right? So be grateful, so gratitude, and then ask about them. They can ask about me, and then at the end there's going to be a result. So GAME, right? So I'm grateful that you have me in today. I wanted to ask you a few questions about this. I'm sure you're going to have questions for me, and then at the end, one of 2 things is going to happen. We're going to go this way or that way. Does that sound like a good agenda? And by the way, how much time do you have? That's a pretty typical agenda set for a sales call. Of course, you want to fill in some of the blanks. Once we've done that, we say, great. Here's what do situation questions do? Well, they're used kind of at the start of the call, as I mentioned. And secondly, they're focused on gathering information. So your job when you first get into the sales conversation is start gathering a little bit of information, very, very nonchalant, on an even playing field. So Sean, what are the examples? A couple of questions you can use. Hey, could you tell me about your growth plans? Let's just start there. And all of a sudden, it's a very open-ended question that's easy, that the client can knock down. They're going to feel better about it. And then boom, you can move forward and gather a little bit of information and see and understand, hey, where this prospect is trying to go. What are you trying to, or what are you working to achieve? What's your big vision? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal? They call it BHAG goals sometimes. So what's your big goal? What are the things that you're trying to achieve with your business? Next, why are you in this field of work? Like, what's your backstory? How did you even get here? Why are you pumped up, or why are you supercharged to do the thing that you're doing? Like, if I get that information from somebody, you can very quickly smoke someone out if they're legit or not. And so this happens really early in the sales conversation. And guess what? If I get a horrible answer to kind of some of my situation questions that I ask, I typically don't keep going in the sales conversation. Why? Because there's no need. Like, if I know somebody's just in it to make a quick buck, I don't want to partner with them. I'm looking for somebody that's a visionary, that's driven to make massive impact and actually solve real problems. Look, if you're that place and you're that person, then hey, let's talk, because we have solutions that can help you, right? And so one of the things that you do have to get out of there is like, where are they trying to go? And, you know, learn a little bit about that backstory, why they're doing it. It's usually a great space to start with situational type questions. Okay, Sean, so now what happens after you get past this? Well, then we dive into what everybody claims the pain part of the conversation. That's fine, right? So the pain part of the conversation simply explores problems, difficulties, or dissatisfactions that the prospect is having, okay? And so as we look at traditional salespeople typically stumble on this step. right? So today I'm going to give you another analogy that you can use. It's very simple that will get you into the pain part of the conversation. The problem here is, and I'll go through it as we go through, but most people don't go deep enough in Problemville question area. So here's a couple of examples that you can see here. First one is W, worried, right? So what we want to use is these trigger emotional words, these trigger indicators, right? And so worried is one, right? So I'll just pop them all up here. So I use the analogy wasp, like the wasp that flies around, as you can see, WASP. And so these are the types of questions that I would start to ask to explore problems. Hey, are you worried about the lack of results that you're getting on this thing? Or is it's kind of annoying to you that you're like, seems like you're leaving deals on the table? Is that annoying, right? Or do you struggle, do you struggle to find the right clients? How are you doing that? Like, what's going on there? Or lastly, like this one, you have to use a lot of tonality, but you say something like, man, are you pissed off that you haven't fixed this yet? And what happens is these are hit words. And so these emotional trigger words are just going to hit the brain, the primal brain. That's why I use these specific 4. And next thing you know, it's going to pop on one of them, right? And you only really need one of these things to be very impactful and actually close a deal, which is the great news, right? You don't have to ask a lot of questions, but you have to ask the right questions, right? And so when somebody says yes to any one of these types of problem questions, I actually have a 8-question follow-up system. When I get somebody's problem or difficulty or dissatisfaction, I immediately throw in my other 8 questions. I've done another video about that if you want to catch it. It's called the pain funnel. It was 8 questions designed by the psychologist. I'll see if I can link it to this video in the comments below. But anyway, this is the problem area. And what you want to do, I know it's uncomfortable as a sales pro, but you got to get in there. You got to understand if they actually have the problem that you solve. And if they do, guess what? It's really, really easy to move forward. Okay, so next, what is the next type of question? So as we're continuing through, so now what have we done? We've got kind of the general overview. Now we've understood their problems, their technical difficulties. Let's talk about the implication or the impact that not having a right solution is going to cause. So the implication question explores the negative effects of not having the proper solution to the problem you solve for clients. Again, the negative effect of not having the proper solution. What is it for your prospect? So a couple of examples here. How will this affect future profitability, right? Let's say you don't solve this thing that we're talking about. What does that mean for your business? What would it look like at the end of this next year, right? Impact. What is it? Next one. What effect is not solving this cause for your clients? What effect is not solving this problem cause for your clients, right? What happens to them if you don't fix this? Next one. What happens if you don't solve this? There you go. I just said that, right? And so with that said, like these are very, very important because what happens is it ties pain or the problems to the emotional impact or result that the prospect of the client's not getting. And when you can bridge that gap in the sales conversation, the checkbook kind of opens up, right? Because all you have to do at that point is not focus on features and benefits and anything other than that, but you have to focus on the impact and talk about that. Like, hey, I know you're not in business to just disappoint people, right? Like we should probably solve this, shouldn't we? I mean, what does it mean if your clients can't do that? Oh, well, and then they're going to go down this pathway of like negativeville. And that's where you want them to be, right? Because when they feel it and they can connect that pain to an actual impact that's having serious implications of business. Another one here is like, what's that mean for your bottom dollar? Like you could go into the money lane here. Another great place to do it, right? And then the last type of questioning is the payoff type questions, the need payoff questions, right? And again, these get the client to tell you as the sales professional the benefits that your solution could offer. So here's a couple of examples and then we'll wrap this up. So first of all, hey, would it be useful to speed that thing up by like 10%? What would that even mean for you, right? If you fix the problem, again, if I wave my magic wand and we fix this, what does it look like in the future? Another great question you can ask, the magic wand, right? If we can improve the quality of this, how would that help you, right? And these are the types of questions that will totally take it from the impact of the problem all the way to what's the payoff when you do get it fixed, right? It helps you keep track of what the client is trying to get to or the prospect. And what's cool about this is when you understand the need payoff, you can tie it back to the very beginning vision that you got from the general information of the sales call. And when you do this, it's very compact and you can close deals, right? And then the only thing that's left after this is like, hey, is this something you want to fix? Because I know I can fix it. I like working with you. Do you want to work with me? Yes. Boom. You just got an emotional close. And then you just move into, well, let's just figure out all the details. Like, let's talk about budget for a second. How do you make decisions? Like, what would it look like if we did start working together? Boom. This is a logical conversation after we actually already solved the problem. And so I talk about about in sales, there's two closes that have to occur. One of them is emotional, the other one is logical, and it goes in that order. These are the 4 types of sales questions that can definitely help anybody that's in the game using this type of methodology. So with that said, you've just been tuned up. There's a couple comments that came in. Let's see. Dom Williams says 100%. Thank you, Dom. Appreciate you. And then great day, everyone. Yes, it is a great day. Thank you for being here. With that said, I love you. You just been tuned up, and I can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day. Crush it. Kill it. Go close deals.